Hello guys, and thank you for joining me today. If this is your first time visiting, I certainly appreciate you giving me an opportunity. And for those that are returning, as always, thank you for your continued support. Now today we're going to be working with my 2000 Honda Accord. Those that are familiar with the channel know that it has the classic 2000s Honda Accord problem where the clear coat is peeled off of it. The clear is almost completely off of the hood. It's pretty much completely off of the roof of the car, and the trunk lid has large sheets that are just peeling up at this point. Now, if you don't understand what clear coat is, just a brief history is back in the day when they painted a car, they used lacquers and enamel paint where the shine was built into it. So they would just basically spray the paint on the car, and it had the shine built into it. Well, in the late 90s, early 2000s, manufacturers started going to the clear coat process where they put down a base coat that is not very shiny. It's kind of a flat color, but once you spray the top of that with the clear coat product, which is just a clear glossy film that they put over the top, that's what causes the shine and the beauty of today's modern paint jobs. Well, I guess Honda didn't get it right their first couple tries, and that's the result that you see here. Now, a few weeks ago, I did a video where I'll try to use like modern products. I used a buffer and compounds and polishing compounds, and then went over the top with a modern ceramic coating to see if that would bring any shine back to kind of act as the surrogate for the clear coat, if you will, that's missing from the car. And I didn't really have much luck with that, but I did find that if I use turtle wax, the cheap turtle wax that you can get in any auto parts store, directly on the base coat, buff that out, it looked better than the side that I had used the ceramic coating on. Now, this is not a knock to any ceramic coating manufacturers. It's just that it is not designed to go down on base coat. Now, last week I did release a little short video showing where I've been practicing up in the corner of the car here with different methods to see if I can make that shine a little bit more permanent. The turtle wax looked fine for a couple of days, and the white started coming back through, and it just was blotchy, and it was not good looking anymore at all. So what I did was, over in this corner, I practiced a couple different techniques. I've actually got the base coat scuffed up. I went too aggressive with my sanding paper and all. So that way I can show you what you can actually achieve with your peeled clear coat. Now, here are some of the products that I tried with this test. I started off with around a 400 grit sandpaper, which is designed for sanding, it's like the final time that you sand a primer that you put on the car, and that was way too aggressive. I was trying to work on feathering some of the clear coat, and it will burn straight through that base coat to the metal, so don't go with 400. So then I went with a 1000 grit. This does not burn through the base coat as bad as the 400 does, but it does leave swirls and scratches. So the 1000 is even out for the base coat that's on this car. So my next step was, this is 3000 grit. It's a sanding pad. It's actually got foam rubber behind it and all. And I found that this was the best one to go ahead and go over your base coat with to get it as clean as you possibly can and to take out any little small imperfections to try to give this the best chance that you can. I've also got a 5000 here, but I haven't tried that yet. Now let's move over to the car, and I'm going to show you what I did to address where some of the clear coat was left in certain places. Now here we are looking up close at the hood, and you can see that the clear coat is completely gone except for some certain places and on the edges. And for this to actually look the best it possibly can, you're going to need to try to remove as much of these places from the area that you're working on that you can, but you don't want to damage the base coat that's underneath it. So sanding this is pretty much out of the question. Anything aggressive enough to take that off with the sandpaper is going to damage the clear coat underneath it. It's not going to look good when you get done. Now, there may be some YouTubers out there or somebody that's seen this method before. I don't know. This is something that I came up with, and it seems to work quite well for me. I'm not claiming to have invented it, but in my own brain I did. What I've got here is like an old gift card. It's just basically a credit card. And I found that if you use the corner of that, you can actually get the old clear coat that looks like this off of the car without damaging the base coat. So there you have it. So I'm going to go around and get these other little places that are on top of the hood like that real quick, and then when I come back, I'm going to show you how I'm going to work on the edges where the white really shows up, where it's feathered in, and it just looks terrible. Okay, with most of that removed from the hood now, I'm going to move to this part right here where you still have clear coat on the edges, and then it just kind of peters out into nothing, and you have a whole bunch of mess with that's left. And I'm going to use the same credit card trick that I did before, and I'm just going to work on that and get that down as far as I can. I've come back now. Like I said, I went pretty aggressive with the credit card right along this seam here, and it does not really affect the base coat. So when you really start grinding on that, don't worry about it. But I did get as much of the loose stuff off around here as I could, and that's going to be about the best that we can do right here. Now I'm going to show you the next step that I came up with, and this is, you'll need to be a little gentle with your hand here, but you can get it to look pretty dang good if you do like I'm going to show you here. Now what I have here is a sheet of the 1000 grit sandpaper. Like I said, I tried with 4 and 8, and it's too hard on the base coat. So the 1000 is the one that I found is the best. So we're gonna try to sand as much of this as we can and feather into the base coat a little bit as well. And we're gonna try to get some of this white out, and we're gonna see how it looks when I get done. So in order to do this, this is just a small sanding block and squeegee and the 1000 grit just right on top of it. And like I said, we're going to be very gentle when we get up close to the edge right here. And as you can see, it is still taking some red paint off of the car, but it's not really cutting into it and leaving scratches like I did in my test area at the top. Okay, now that I've got my edge feathered, I can come back with my finger and you can feel the difference between that and that when you're doing this yourself. And just to get it as smooth as you can without damaging the base coat is your goal. And now I'm going to go back and I'm going to be a little more aggressive on the clear coat part. I'm just going to sand that down till it's smooth. You're probably not going to get all of the white out of it. Again, as you're doing this, just keep in mind that some of when you get to the corners and the edges, that you can burn all the way through really easy, really quick there if you're not careful. So just keep that in mind as you're working this. All right, I'm going to stop right there and call that good where I'm at. Some of that off so you can see. Now some of this is going to look better than the rest, and that's just a fact. You can spend as much time on this as you want, but again, the main goal is to only let your sanding, as you're really putting the pressure on it, only let it go up to the edge. Don't go all the way onto your base coat. Okay, now that I've got that a little bit cleaned up and got that the paint off of it, you can see I got a little too deep here, but I did not go through the clear, I don't think, or I was right at the process of going through it. But again, this is shot. Just do your best on these sides. Now what I'm going to do is, this is the 3000 grit sanding pad, and I'm just going to go over this wet and just give that a good once over, and I'm going to go up onto the base coat as well, where I'm going to apply some wax here in just a second. All right, what I'm doing now is I'm going over this with a wax and grease remover so I can give myself the best surface I can to deal with after sanding with that 3000 grit. So I'm going to now use just basic turtle wax that you can get out of any auto parts store. This stuff is cheap, but it seems to be, I actually tried this with carnauba wax as well, but the turtle wax is the best for the base coat that's on this car. So use the applicator that's just a little bit damp and just get a little bit on our pad. When you use turtle wax, this is actually an abrasive. That is actually polishing the base coat as well. So I'm going to give that just a minute or two now just to kind of dry to a haze, and then we're going to buff off the excess. Okay, as you can see, this is now dried to a haze, and our goal is going to be able to take the haze off but actually leave the thin layer of turtle wax behind, because that's what's going to provide you with the shine. So you just come in with a cloth and buff it off. Yeah, I'm giving a class on how to use turtle wax. And when you get most of the haze off, now you just put enough pressure on, because you're actually buffing the turtle wax itself. You're not trying to get anything to come off of the car. All right, and we're going to call that good right there. Now the next step is I'm going to actually apply ceramic coating over the top of the turtle wax to lock in this shine. As you can see, the difference here between this and this. So if I put the ceramic coating over the top of this, that should lock that in. All right, with this ready to go, I'm going to come back with this product here. This is from the chemical guys. It is their ceramic coating called Hydroslick. This will run you about $40 to $50 a bottle. And I'm just, there's different ways to apply it. You can just put it straight on the hood and then just kind of smooth it out, which is what I'm going to do right here. So I'm just going to drop some drops. And that's probably enough. And then come back with a microfiber, and I'm just going to back and forth with it and just get it moved around. Okay, then I'm going to let that dry, and then we're going to buff that out as well. All right, it's been a few minutes now. That's kind of dried to a haze, and I'm going to come back, and again, I'm just trying to remove the excess and polish what's underneath it with the microfiber. All right, I've got the ceramic coating buffed out now, and this is, I don't know, I'm about 3 foot away from the car with this camera. I've got this lighting that is not very forgiving to bad paint jobs shining down on it. But you can see from here what I've achieved. As I get a little bit closer, you start to see the line come back here, and also where I'll burn through right here. This is my fault, and if it happens to you, I'm sorry, but that's just the risk that you're going to take on this if you try it. But I'm going to say that looks about 1,000% better than it did like over here. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go around the rest of the car, or just the hood, with the credit card, and I'm going to work these lines down, and I'm going to do some wet sanding of this. And then when we come back, I'm going to take this thing into a wash bay, and we're going to do the wet sand with the 3000 grit pad in the wash bay. All right, we're back. We're finished with the wax job. I actually did go back and put another coat on. This stage right here, the best job you can do at this point is what's probably going to determine how well your job's going to look in the end. So, not perfect. It wasn't supposed to be, but we're going to now use the Chemical Guys ceramic wax, Hyperwax as they call it. I'm going to apply that just like their video shows to apply it, and we're going to see what the results are. And again, this is the product that I'm using, the Chemical Guys Hydroslick Ceramic Coating Hyperwax. Start off by shaking the bottle up very well. Now this is the product that the Chemical Guys sells to apply this. It's basically just a sponge that has a microfiber coating over the top. And what they say to do after you get it shook up, you're going to put 4 dime-size dots on your applicator. Okay, and after you have that on, we're just going to basically just start to spread this across the car. They say use a crosshatch method, which they actually don't ever do in the video that they show you. But I'm just going to get it, and I'm just going to get it spread around, and then we're going to give it some time to dry. I'm going to work in this corner first. They say that it's self-leveling, so if you get it smeared around enough, and just make sure everything's coated, it should do what it's supposed to do. I think the best step also is you want the coat that you put on to be as thin as possible. So that's going to make it much easier to get the excess off after this dries. All right, we're going to let that dry. They say on a warm day it dries in about 30 seconds, which this is. Yeah, October in North Carolina still feels like summer. But I'm going to let this sit for about a minute or two, and we're going to come back and we're going to buff that off. I'm still working on buffing that. I may have gotten too much on with that first go around because I'm having some trouble getting it to buff out, but I'm going to call that good for now. We're going to move over to do the other side of the car, and then we're going to finish buffing it all at the same time. But you can see it's kind of hard to tell in this light from here over. We'll get it out here in the sun in a second, but from here over has already been done with the Hydroslick. Do the other side, and we'll come back, get it all buffed out, and get it out in the sun, take a look at it. All right, I think I'm about the point where I'm going to say stop. And like I said, this light here is really harsh, but you can get an idea. The hood is now shining again. It's a little blotchy in spots, but it looks 1000% better than it did when we started. Just to get in here close, you can see that clear coat line there. I did not spend as much time on that as I could have. It is it's a very time-consuming process to do it exactly right. And I'll show you over here. You can see the line where I didn't really work on it that much here, all the way up. But when we get to this corner here, I really took my time with the sandpaper to this part here, and I got most of that line out. So this is going to be basically as much time as you want to spend into it. This is about all I've got in me right now, but that is what you can achieve if you stick to it. Now let's get this out in the sunshine and take a look, and I'll put up some video from a couple of weeks ago, and we'll do some comparisons. Okay, we're out here in natural light now. The sun has decided to go behind a cloud while I film this part, but we'll just show you what it looks like with natural light, and that is 1000% better. But here's some video from a couple of weeks ago before I'd done anything to it, and then I'll show you a little bit of the video after I did the turtle wax also, as you can see, this looks much better. And if the claims for the ceramic coating are true, that should stay that way for about 6 months. So there you have it, guys. That's the best method that I've come up with to combat the zero clear coat problem, not the peeling clear coat, but the zero clear coat problem on your car. If things go well, that should last about 6 months, and it's out in full sunlight. It does not look that bad. Now, if you have a little bit of time and about $75 and want to put some elbow grease into it, you can achieve that same effect that I did with this car. Again, next week, I think I'm going to go ahead and spray the roof with the clear coat. Check out a video coming up. I'll show you that. Appreciate you guys watching today. I'll check you on the next video.